That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Jake Paul has just dropped some intense new training footage ahead of the Anthony Joshua fight, and it has completely shaken the boxing and MMA world. Joe Rogan has finally reacted, admitting that whether people like Jake Paul or not, he is taking this fight extremely seriously. In the latest clips, Jake looks bigger, sharper, and more explosive than ever before. So much so that fans can't believe how quickly his power and speed have improved. Even with a dangerous heavyweight like Anthony Joshua standing across from him, Jake Paul is clearly preparing for the toughest challenge of his career, and his training has left both communities shocked and curious about what might happen on fight night.
Talking right now about doing Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul. Jake Paul apparently wants that fight. And he agreed to, I think it was 99% to 1, where Joshua gets 99% of the money and he gets 1%.
Bit of glaze in that question, and you know, that seems like a very friendly question to Jake, but you know what? It's a fair question. I'm not mad at the guy for phrasing his question that way. And again, yes, that's because Jake has a massive name and a massive spotlight. Without that, Jake is not fighting Anthony Joshua in his 14th fight. But on the other side of that, the risk involved with fighting Anthony Joshua here, and some of the fights that Jake had in his first 10 or 11 fights, most pros were either having or having worse opponents for. So when people discredit Jake's career by being like, he didn't fight this guy, he didn't fight that guy, he didn't fight a number of this contender, number that, look at your favorite fighter in their first 14 fights and you pick out the opponents that they had and the level of them. Sure, you'll have your outliers, your Vasily Lomachenkos and other guys that fought tough competition right away, but most, and I mean most meaning 95% of the sport of boxing, had tomato cans until he had 15 to 20 wins. Give Jake his credit. He's fought guys that even were better on his resume than some of your favorite fighters, and now he's fighting Joshua this early. That deserves the credit that I know and the acknowledgement that I know Jake is looking.
And it's a lose-lose for Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn? When you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring, fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose, we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing.
This isn't a gimmick. This isn't YouTube boxing. This is Jake Paul preparing for a legitimate heavyweight monster. And according to Joe Rogan, the new training footage proves exactly that. Rogan highlighted what everyone immediately noticed. Jake Paul is massive. This is not the same Jake we saw preparing for the Gervonta fight. He has added real muscle, real power, and a level of physical density no one expected from someone who started as a youth. Rogan even said the transformation is insane and shows Jake fully understands the danger he's walking into. Anthony Joshua is not a joke. He's a 2-time heavyweight world champion who has knocked out giants. And now, Jake Paul is clearly showing that he understands exactly what kind of opponent he's preparing for.
Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. But anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for DAZN? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since 2015. The contest is a professional bout and will go on the boys' records. But that being said, this is heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. I'm going to give you my prediction right now. Now, we just want to see it because there's a lot of hate out here on influencer boxing. A lot of people have got different opinions opinions on boxing these days. But I want to ask you, do you box? Do you train boxing yourself? Well, if you do, you will understand that footwork is the most important thing in boxing. If your feet is not right, nothing is.
This is going to be the toughest fight of his career.
Sharp, relax.
The most embarrassing fight of his career.
Good chair across your face.
Yeah, I think he's about to cry.
Good, body head. Good, and again.
You look forward to facing off with Joshua. To break down the face-off, what do you think about his size? What did you say anything? Did he say anything?
No, we didn't say anything, but he looks intense, focused, locked in. He's obviously very, very tall. Looking up, my tallest opponent. My eyes are at his, chest level. But yeah, he's locked in. I'm locked in. I don't think there's fear in his eyes or in my eyes.
Yeah, Jake, tell us the difference between your face-off with Gervonta, where you're a head taller looking down and now looking up at Joshua.
No, it's surreal. All of it is very, very funny, and my neck started to hurt after looking up for a little bit. But this is what we signed up for, and he's very tall, but that means I can use my speed and my size to my advantage as well.
What shocked Rogan the most was Jake Paul's speed at this size. The new footage showed him darting in and out with surprising sharpness, firing explosive combinations, ripping heavy body shots, and drilling that signature overhand right that has ended so many of his opponents. Rogan said that even though Jake will still enter the fight as the underdog, this is the most physically imposing version of Jake Paul we've ever seen, and that alone makes the matchup compelling. Rogan also discussed Jake's strategic preparation for Anthony Joshua. The footage showed Jake slipping jabs, cutting angles, and working non-stop on closing distance safely. According to Rogan, the only way Jake can win this fight is by turning it into a war.
I don't know what he thinks, but what he does do is he markets himself in the space that he operates in. I don't get this Jake Paul or Logan Paul phenomenon, but I'm not the audience. It doesn't matter what I get. The opportunity for Netflix is that it's a drive to subscribe. They'll pay $100 million, and the wraparound fees that come from sponsorship and the event attendance. We saw that $20 million was generated in gate receipts for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. So we know this is a $160 million fight. We know that it makes sense to Netflix to do it because in the last fight that they had with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they developed 2 million new subscribers. The average lifetime value of a subscriber is $900. So if you look at that and say they're going to generate $2 billion in potential increased revenues as a result of paying these fighters 100 million quid, you can see the metrics of it. They're also retaining their base. They're also moving content into a different space, which is sport. So it all makes sense. It's like the mobile phone industry I knew very well. Used to sell phones for nothing so people could get the airtime. And the airtime was where the money is. The content delivery is where the subscribers go to, and then they pay their subscription. So we all understand the model. As far as the fight is concerned, oh no, don't be silly. I mean, Anthony Joshua can go in his nightgown and beat Jake Paul. The issue is, does he hurt Jake Paul? How curated it is? I debated it with boxers, with Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie and Spencer about would Joshua go in there with a mindset, which is he knows he doesn't have to get out of second gear, so he doesn't have to do to Jake Paul what people fear he might do, which is knock him into the next life.
But he's not a punchback, Jake Paul.
Yeah, he's at this level.
Albeit an aged Mike Tyson. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Mike Tyson, when we went out there to do that fight, and Simon gave me a lot of stick for it because I was saying Mike Tyson was actually going to put an end to this Jake Paul phenomenon that was going on. And when Mike Tyson got out the car, when we hit Texas, he climbed out the car and he could barely walk, Jim. He struggled to get up the stairs. I knew that I was in trouble for making those comments. I knew that. I sold the fight and I shouldn't have sold the fight. But this one, Anthony Joshua needs to keep his career alive. And by doing that, he has to get rid of Jake Paul very, very early.
What do you say to the people who say Anthony is ruining his legacy just by taking this fight? Fans don't respect what he's done in the sport already. He's an Olympic gold medalist, two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. I sort of sympathize with him because I feel like if he doesn't beat him quicker than he beat Francis, people are just going to write it off. I'll ask you bluntly, have there been any discussions about there's an agreement, there's a secret contract? Have any of those discussions happened regarding this fight? It's an 8-round professional fight. AJ wouldn't have taken it if that was the stance it had to be, if it was an exhibition, if it was you've got to hold him up for 8 rounds. It wouldn't suit Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is going in there to to knock out Jake Paul.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really is.
He cannot stand at long range with Anthony Joshua. Jake has to smother him, force him backward, use his added size, and make Joshua uncomfortable. And Rogan believes Jake's team understands this perfectly. That's why every part of the new training footage is built around chaos, pressure, and making the fight ugly. But Rogan also added a dose of reality. Anthony Joshua at his best is a nightmare for anyone. He is bigger, stronger, more experienced, and hits harder than anyone Jake has ever faced. Rogan made it clear, the danger is real, and the challenge is real.
Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is happening. Who you got and how?
Man, you got to go with Anthony Joshua. You just got to go with Anthony Joshua on him. I think Anthony Joshua by knockout. Yeah, I think Jake will probably get knocked out in the third round.
Who did Terrence Crawford fight his 11th fight? I don't know. Who did Arthur Beterbiev fight? Jake Paul has found a way to make himself the cash cow early in his career to where we shouldn't care.
Jake Paul has become the fighter right now that everybody wants to fight because right now he is the cash cow. He made $40 million just off of Netflix.
He has found a way to do something with his following, get under people's skin to make people care about these fights.
What advice would you give to somebody like AJ?
That he has a lot of talent and not to get discouraged. He only loses when he quits. When you quit, all the doors of opportunities close. You know what I mean? You have to be game, and then for the fit. Don't get discouraged if you lose. Listen, you just lost. You may have got $30 million. You should give Usyk a kiss and say, "Can we do this again?" Don't let this internalize you. Oh, I can't fight now. This white boy kicked my ass. People are laughing at me. No, he kicked my ass for $50 million or $30 million. I hope he kicks my ass again. But this time it might not work out that way. I'm gonna kick his ass. I just think the more time you lay off, the worse you get. You have to fight to be the best. You have to do it more and more and more.
He beat Wallin, and he beat him convincingly.
Yes,
and that's all he can do. And I think that he should take the praise from that and build from it, but he shouldn't want the criticism to stop because I think it fuels him.
I'm one with you, and I said that to Joshua in one of the interviews that I've done with him. I said to him, listen, I knew he was very angry with TalkSport and the criticism he was getting from TalkSport, etc. And I had that conversation with him and said, listen, Josh, you should be feeding off that. That's what good fighters do. You feed off that. Go and prove them wrong. That's where your fuel should be coming from. And I think to a certain extent he's sort of done that. I said, look, if people are talking about you, it's a good thing because that means that you're doing something right.
He wasn't ready for Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua was a different thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just he's got more one-shot knockout power.
It was bad game
he took
plan
it more
as well,
seriously
though.
too.
I know he likes to switch in, but again, this is where the boxing is. If you don't have that kind of intellect in the boxing, that footwork and foot positioning is. Put your foot on one side, you're gonna get killed. You put your foot on the other side, you're safe. You can kind of manage the power and see the punches coming. But he kept switching stances, but just leaving himself in just the wrong positions.
Yeah, he wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready. There was a lot of hype off the Fury fight.
Also, Joshua got to watch him box in the Fury fight, see some patterns. Fury, I think, probably took him lightly.
Yes, I think so.
He's one of the greatest of all time. This guy's never had a boxing match. At the beginning of the fight, he's like, time to go to school. Like, oh, really?
And if Jake gets caught early, it could be a brutal ending. That's what makes this matchup so insane. Jake Paul went from preparing to fight someone half his size to stepping in with one of the biggest British heavyweights of the modern era. It's madness, but it's the kind of madness Jake Paul thrives on. Rogan concluded by saying Jake Paul may be delusional, but that delusion is his superpower. It's the same delusion that pushed him to fight real fighters and win. And judging by the new footage, Jake Paul isn't preparing to simply survive against Anthony Joshua. He's preparing to win, even if the entire world doubts him. Whether that's bravery or insanity, Rogan says only time will tell. Subscribe now. Big stories, big fights, and big reactions coming your way. Join the channel and never miss the next major fight update.